Greetings, fellow seeker of the starry mysteries. What does your heart sing when you gaze upon this image of Venus dancing with the Pleiades through fig leaves? What a beautiful thing. But what does it mean? I imagine you have formed a personal relationship with Venus, a planet we are often told is the goddess of relationship herself, a goddess of love. But some said a god of war. What have you found to be true as you follow Venus through the signs of time and engage with her light before sunrise as morning star, after sunset as evening star? What does Venus mean to you? Have you found that your personal connection to this beautiful planet resonates with what you were told to believe? We must not believe everything we were told, and we must be very careful with our projections. That latter statement, I guess, is meant to be the fuel for our short journey today as we speak about grounding the fixed stars into our astrology. I'm very excited to launch a journey into fixed star astronomy, astrology, astro magic, mythology, and much more. Coming soon to a theater called You. I hope you will join this magical mystery store, which launches on April 22nd, 2023. You can find out much more at geminibrett.com/stars. How do we connect to the mysteries of these so-called fixed stars like the Pleiades? Perhaps we can tune into the ancient myths. But should we listen only to the words from Greece or Rome? Perhaps we should head far north into the snow or go down south to Kemet, the land we now call Egypt, perhaps across the water to Babylon. Maybe further east to India, where these seven sisters, as many of us know them, were seen as the seven wives of the seven sages, those being the stars of the big bear that circles the pole. And perhaps we should go to the land of the rising sun, where these Pleiades are called Subaru. What might that say to me or you? You know, an interesting truth is that when we tune into the starry stories from many lands and from many times, we find some interesting similarities in what was said about these sister stars of our sky. Does that whisper perhaps of a common ancestry for these people scattered around the earth? Perhaps they were visited by the same teachers who came from another dimension, another land far away. I guess this thing's getting a little too far away from me. Some of the ancient magical traditions say that quartz is associated with the Pleiades, fennel, frankincense. Perhaps we can connect to their message by working with these stones and plants. Perhaps when planets like Venus align, we should get outside and offer our hearts to that beautiful vision and ask that planet much closer to us to transmit messages from the ones beyond. Or maybe we shouldn't look at all. Some of the ancient texts, actually most of them, suggest, if you can believe it, that planets with the Pleiades will bring blindness. For the same reason, or I guess the opposite, astromagical traditions often work with moon Pleiades alignments or benefic planet like Venus Pleiades alignments for enhancement or elongation of your eyesight, both terrestrial and celestial, or both within this world and learning how to see into the world behind the world. The Pleiades are often said to offer esoteric sight. But why would we hear that the Pleiades are associated with people literally going blind? And should we just believe that because it's what was written? Now, interestingly, the Pleiades are an eye test. How many can you see? Don't count the two who are most east, that is Pleione and Atlas, the parents of the seven sisters. Atlas, who some mysteries suggest was the king of Atlantis. I'm cheating in this image because it's a lens that's better than mine and zoomed way in, okay? But how many of the Pleiades can you count in your sky? The ancient eye test there, and it goes deeper than a moment's time. The Pleiades are used to calibrate lunar and solar calendars in many lands still today, like in Hawaii, and back in the day, like in Babylon, the young moon with the Pleiades marked the beginning of a year that was seen as the first year of 19 and even 76 year cycles. And the astronomers of old would strain to see the first appearance of the moon each month, or perhaps the last day that the Pleiades are found in the sunset west before they go under the beams of the sun whose light will overcome them each year. These days in May, a month named for Maya, one of these sisters who the myths tell us came to Earth and lived in a cave. I believe this happens every May and June when the Pleiades are behind the sun and therefore could not be seen by any terrestrial eye. The Pleiades, modern astronomy tells us, reside with a nebula, actually known as the Nebula of Tears. You feel the sight there? Nebula are treated by many as issues with vision anyway, because they're just apparently kind of out of focus until we like Hubble out there, you see. So there's some interesting things here, but what we want to do in grounding the fixed stars into your astrology is take a journey, not only in learning how we can use techniques like projections to see our own personal relationships to these great fixed stars like the Pleiades. Because of course, when we hear stories, not just about people we don't know, but about and from people we are meeting who are willing to share from their heart about their own lives that either agree with what the ancients had to say or disagree with that, we can start doing that research and at least have more confidence in fixed star delineation. That doesn't mean we will then know what it all means, does it? But it will offer more keys. And so I'm so excited to navigate this journey with many guest astrologers who I'm calling guiding stars that will focus on the stone or plant correspondence or bring forth myth or tell us what the Pleiades, for example, or Aldebaran or Sirius meant to the Hellenistic tradition or the medieval tradition. I want to hear from, and we will, modern astronomers. How far away are the Pleiades? When were they made? What type of stars are they? And the like. I feel like this will add so much more. And the intent is to integrate the sacred astronomy techniques that will help us ground the fixed star into our astrology during the course of a month-long journey, but also to meet each week and share stories and look to charts like the one on your screen where we see a very strong connection, in this case, between Venus and the Pleiades. Let's add the Bohemian stars to this chart. It might seem a little bit overwhelming at this point. Alcyone is the brightest of the Pleiadian sisters, a star which has recently processed into the tropical sign of Gemini. The fixed stars themselves are not fixed in the tropical zodiac, and that's a seed to plant, but a tale to tell another time. Maya, one of the Pleiadian sisters, the one right here, will process into tropical Gemini this year of 2023. Now, this was the launch chart I elected for this new mission into the fixed stars because it has so many alignments to the fixed stars, as you can see. This is Feca and also Arcturus, who share a zodiac degree rising at the time, and Procyon, the Bohemian star, the magical star of Mercury's that many of us know as the small dog, but it is such a large star and beautiful star energetically. If I add the so-called special lots of the moon and the sun to this chart, you will see other alignments, the part of fortune with Deneb Jedi, the tail of the goat, one of these 15 Bohemian stars. The part of spirit with Capella. The shoulder of Auriga, the charioteer, who holds the goat Amalthea, who fed baby Jupiter so long ago. But we must be careful with projections. And so one of the ways we can work with fixed stars is working with zodiac degrees. You want to be careful in regards to precession. For example, when you were born, likely Alcyone here was in tropical Taurus. And if you're looking at the chart of, Isaac Newton, some hundreds of years ago, you're going to find that they're in earlier degrees of tropical Taurus. Perhaps you work with a sidereal zodiac, and perhaps I'm just speaking a foreign language. The beautiful thing about grounding the fixed stars into your astrology is I am going to offer sacred astronomical techniques that can be applied to any astrological paradigm, any house system, any zodiac. And one of these techniques is simply projections. Looking at a chart like this is a star on the rise. And so here we see Feca and Arcturus rising in the east at the time that I elected, right? Yes, but we must be careful with our projections. So let's head to Stellarium astronomy software for the same moment in time, Moon Day, April 10th at 7:53 p.m. Cast for the land where I currently stand, now known as El Sobrante, in the Richmond Hills of the San Francisco Bay Area, California. I mean, this was a powerful time in regards to where Mercury was, cyclically speaking, visible as an evening star, maximally elongated from the sun. Venus in Taurus, right at home. But, one beautiful, important thing about the Pleiades in our day and age, just from a tropical zodiac perspective, is that they mark the gateway between Taurus and Gemini. And so when you see planets like Venus visiting, or here's an image of Mars in August of 2022, moving from Taurus into Gemini, you see planets at the Pleiades, you know they are crossing a cusp. What a gift. What a wonderful thing to know. Here we see Jupiter Casini, Sun and Jupiter aligned as they do on average only every 399 Earth days. And you know what? The next time they do, they'll be right at the Pleiades. And, there's a story of Jupiter visiting Maya in the cave, which I suggest is the beams of the sun for when planets or fixed stars reside so close to the sun, or the sun's passing them by. In the case of the stars, they're under the beam of light for some time, and we won't see them again until they are reborn with heliacal rise in the east. I had a dream where I was visited by a dove recently. It was one of 3 consecutive nights when I last looked upon Pleiadian light before closing my eyes and walking upstairs to my bed to sleep and dream and welcome a vision. And I had this experience of a dove coming, and I believe it was Maya who told me to launch the ship a little sooner than I had planned. I was going to wait for the sun to be quite close to the Pleiades, but felt that, no, we want to get out and engage with the stars in the sky, form our own relationships. If you want to listen to and authority about what a fixed star like Aldebaran means, I'll tell you who to go to. Aldebaran. If you want to learn about Sirius, I suggest you introduce yourself to Sirius and open the ears of your heart. So these are also methods that I'll be teaching as well as other guiding stars that will be assisting the navigation of this grounding the fixed stars into your astrology journey. Get out and form a personal relationship, but also use these tools like quartz or frankincense to tune in and do good magic. It's interesting again that the Pleiades traditionally are said to bring blindness, but that we can work with planetary alignments with the Pleiades to expand our sight. That's a thing that I love. All right, here is Procyon, the small dog star. Here is Feca, the shaft of wheat that the priestess of the heavens holds. Two of the Bohemian stars that I elected for this chart. Here's another one, Algorab, the wing star of the crow Corvus. Here's another one, Arcturus. Well, let's look east and zoom in a bit so we can just clearly see that while the chart suggests that Arcturus, like Spica, is rising on the eastern horizon because the horizontal line of a chart, the ascendant-descendant axis, of course, is the ground beneath our feet. We must be careful with projections. That is not what the astronomy software says. Which one's wrong? Neither of them. What was rising at the time is the zodiac degree that both Arcturus and Spica project to. What was culminating, or near culminating at the time of this election, was the zodiac degree that Procyon projects to. But that doesn't mean that Procyon was culminating at the meridian. In fact, that had happened sometime earlier. It doesn't mean that Arcturus was actually rising. In fact, that happened sometime much earlier. It doesn't mean that Spica's rising. Well, it's about to happen because Spica lives very close to the ecliptic, the path of the sun, the one ring that rules them all, and in the light binds them, the one ring that we project all planets and stars to in a zodiac chart. The path of Earth about the sun, and therefore the path of sun in earthly skies, the circle of spirit. And that's wise and right. But there are also other ways to work with stars. In fact, this is one of the Bohemian stars, Feca, or Gemma, the bright gem of the northern crown. And you can see this chart suggests Feca at this time is way beneath the ground. Au contraire. And what does it mean that Feca and Spica rise at the same time? And that's particular to this latitude of mine, and of course it's not mine where I live in the Bay Area of California. It's the same latitude as Athens, Greece. But this is particular to particular parallels on Earth. Speaking of parallels, let me show you an interesting thing here, if I can figure out the tech and part of what I will be sharing in grounding the fixed stars into your astrology is how to use free softwares like this to see. Notice that the path that Arcturus will take from rising in the northeast to later setting in the northwest brings Arcturus, one of these Bohemian or magical stars of Mercury, to a very similar altitude to which was currently culminating. I mean, I considered waiting for a Leo midheaven here some minutes later, which actually would have perfected this, what we call parallel between Arcturus in the midheaven. Let me show you how that would have worked sometime later. Oh, before my first preview video ended, or actually right at the time that it did. And, you know, one thing I feel that's very important, we want to work with where stars are in a moment's time, like 1953, but we also want to work with where they will be. So this is a very different astronomical technique than zodiacal projection to a celestial longitude. You might know that as a zodiac degree. We can also work with conjunctions in declination. That's known as parallel. So see, for example, that at this time the moon is parallel the Bohemian star Antares and contraparallel Feca. This is a beautiful thing that I want to help you see through the lens of sacred astronomy so you can bring it into your astrology and into your reality. Let me go show you this. I'll take the ground away here in this wonderful open source astronomy software, Stellarium. Here's the moon's path at the time, and you can see how close that path of the moon is to Antares, the Scorpion's heart. So they are not conjoined through longitude or zodiac degree. This is the degree of Antares. You can see here in the chart that Antares and moon at the time are a full 11.5 degrees apart. But they are following the same path. That's a parallel. Let me show you one other just glimpse of a technique I will be teaching in this Grounding the Fixed Stars into Your Astrology course. And it's a technique that these days we call parans. It's going to be easier to see if I do this. So for example, let's read like this one, that when Jupiter culminates, Procyon rises. This is an agreement between these heavenly bodies in a sense that's like out of time. I will show you how you can see this in an astrology map that we call astrolocality or astrocartography maps. That one might be a little overwhelming with all of these beings on the chart at once. But I also really love to show this in astronomy software because this is an astronomy thing. I'm rewinding this day to the time when Jupiter with the sun in Casini culminated around midday, yes, sun at the meridian, which separates the eastern climbing sky from the western declining sky. And notice that as Jupiter culminated, Procyon is here rising. This we call a paran. And it is one of the three astronomical techniques that I will be teaching, presenting at beautiful pace with moving animations that will really help you clearly understand the roots of these rules, the proofs of these equations we use. My friends, astrology is so much more than some symbolic language alone. Astrology is the poetic breath of nature. And when we renature our astrology, we will receive the keys to understanding the ancient roots of these rules that we use, you see. That's the purpose of grounding the fixed stars into your astrology. I mean, the first class is devoted to something that maybe is not an astronomical technique, or maybe is the most astronomical technique there is. Just the invitation to get outside and to open your heart, to feel in your body that energy of the star. This, of course, takes time, but in another sense, all we have to do is get out there and introduce ourselves. So I'm really excited to hear from other guiding stars of our tour about what they feel when they engage with the Pleiades. Because some of the ancient malefic delineations of, this, not what I feel when I engage with these beautiful stars in the sky. But we're also going to do a bunch of research together and share our charts. There will be webinars of teachings, but there will also be study groups where we're all just engaging. And I mean, what if we find that 10 of us have eye issues and planets at the Pleiades in our nativity. Interesting, right? Let's take these things that we hear and see if they really work, and then we can work with them in more confidence, yes? So week 1 is about forming a direct relationship with these stars and learning some of the tools like stones and plants to help you do so. The second week, I'm going to speak about projection, simply zodiac degrees, and where your planets will perhaps align or not to stars like the set of 15 magical stars of Mercury, the Bohemian stars, but you know what, there's many more stars in the sky. And these techniques, well, we will focus actually most on the Pleiades in this first month. Oh, did I say first month? I don't want to get ahead of myself. Anyway, in this month, we'll be speaking about all of these Bohemian stars, but really these are techniques that you can use to see where the stars, each of the stars align for you, how you have planet connections to the stars, not just through projections. That will be our study in week 1. And I say 90% of astrologers who are working with the fixed stars probably stop there, actually. But in the that's the class for week 2. And the third week, we'll really get into declinations, the primary motion, the spinning sky, and these parallels. What does it mean if a planet follows the path that a star had carved out for it some hours before? Do you feel that connection? And then in the 4th class, we'll look through the lens of this astronomical technique we now call Paran. What does it mean, for example, if Sirius is culminating when Jupiter rises? How can you feel that connection, and what do those two places mean? So I'm so excited to share with you. I hope you'll join this tour and other star seekers like us. What I receive from the stars in the sky, I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. I'm so excited to look at charts together and kind of build a library of true research. I'm so excited to share these deep, grounded, sacred astronomy keys that you can learn to and use to ground the fixed stars into your astrology. If you're interested, please head over to geminibrett.com/stars. You can read all about the 4 Saturday webinars, which begin on April 22nd, just around the corner, and about the 4 Wednesday study groups, where I'm excited, I hope, to hear from you.